Hey everyone, my name is Rachel and I am the manager of Youth, Family, and Special Programs at the Hunter. Part of that means that I get to make art with you today. So welcome, thanks for joining me on this wet and rainy, lovely Wednesday. We are going to be making today some magazine mosaic art, sometimes called magazine strip art or magazine collage. And it was a little bit inspired by a work of art that we have at the Hunter by John Hunter called Carnival. And you can see it on, and this is a little image of it, you can see it on our website though. It is not permanently on view, but if you go to the Hunter's website, you can search in our collection section and search John Hunter Carnival, and you can pull up the image of that and see the art that is inspiring today's art activity. It's appropriate since it's getting close to summertime. I felt to have something a little carnival-esque. So what we're doing today is magazine strip art, magazine mosaic art, magazine collage. It's got several names. Basically, you're using magazines and a little glue and some scissors and a template. So scissors here. I've got some glue, and my favorite way to use glue for collage or any sort of paper application is to just take a little regular old school or white glue and mix it with a little water. I usually use warm water because it helps to mix a little better, and an old paintbrush. And it looks a little more liquidy, so it looks like it might not be as easy to use, but it actually helps you to have a little more control of the amount of glue that you're putting on your work. And then I've got some magazines. I happen to have a fashion magazine and a women's health magazine because those are the magazines that that come to me, but whatever magazines you have will work just fine. I'm also using a template. Today's template is a bear, and I just cut this out of a thick piece of cardstock. You could use an old cereal box, a shoe box lid would work just great. Anything that has that sort of a little bit sturdy but a little bit bendy at the same time sort of texture. So you just want to, I drew out a silhouette of a bear. If you have something you want to trace, you can do that as well. Just try to keep it simple. If you'll notice, the bear is very simple. He doesn't have eyes, or he doesn't even have a tail. It's just a very simple silhouette of a bear. Just to give you an idea, these are finished products. Letters work great too. It's an R and an M. So anything that you want to do as far as your silhouette or template, as long as you just keep that outline of it, very, very simple. So to get started, we're going to pick some magazine pages, and I've already pulled some from the Women's Health magazine. I actually pulled that front page that's got the list of contributors, editors, everyone who's done anything in the magazine. I just thought that it would add some interesting texture because the print was very small, and then there's some red and black, and I thought it might add some interesting texture for whatever pattern pages I choose. So I am going to flip through here. Now, this is a good way. I know I flip through magazines sometimes, and I think that's really, really pretty, but my magazine ends up going in the recycle bin, or I donate it to a women's shelter so that they can have something to look at and read. So this is a good way too to preserve maybe something that you like. You could be inspired by something that you see inside your magazine. So I just pulled this one out because I liked the texture of those pink feathers on her gown. And then I was looking through here earlier, but you know, feel free to go at your own leisure and choose whatever you would like. So I liked this too, this kind of starry look there. So I'm gonna pull that one out. And I also saw one in here that was pretty interesting. It kind of had that same feathery look, but instead of being blue, it was pink. So I'm gonna grab that one out. And you don't have to worry about being really neat on this edge because we're gonna cut these into strips. If you want to be really neat, that's totally fun too. So we've got a couple of magazine pages here, and what I'm going to do now is just stack them together. And I'm just going to proceed to cut them into strips. Now, I will say the size of the strips is important in relation to the size of silhouette or template you have. So this template, I can cut the strips a little thicker, but if I were doing, you know, a smaller template, like these letters are a lot smaller than the little bear here, then I might want to cut those strips a little smaller, a little thinner, just so that, you know, I can get more strips on here, because the more strips you get, the more texture you're going to get, the more convergence of patterns, and it just creates something more interesting to look at. So it's just as simple as this, ladies and gents. You're just going to take your magazine's pages and you're just going to cut strips. Now, you can cut the strips long ways like this. You can cut them in a more horizontal way, the width of the magazine. As long as your strips are as long as your template. So they need to be longer than the longest part of your template. And you see this, the long strips are, as are the short strips. All of the strips are longer than my template. So we just cut until we have several strips. You can cut until you have more strips than you think you're going to need. And you don't have to measure these out exactly. If you want to be really precise and measure them out exactly, you are certainly welcome to do that. This is a very forgiving sort of activity though, so if you prefer to be a little more organic and not have as straight of lines, or if you want to do this with kids and they are cutting and learning to cut, this is a great way to give them practice with cutting. So they can cut and not have to cut something out exactly on lines. So this just gives their hands a little bit of a chance to practice just that motion of cutting. And so that looks like enough strips here. So we've got our magazine strips, which is what we needed the scissors for, to cut those magazine strips. We've got our glue, which again is just this regular white glue. You can use Elmer's school glue. This is Crayola. Roses has a glue, or Rose Art has a glue, excuse me, any white glue that you have. I mixed mine with a little bit of warm water and just got it to a little bit of a thinner consistency. It seems like the thicker one you would have more control over, but really the thinner with a little paintbrush it gives me more control, I find, especially when I'm using it to glue pieces of paper onto something. So we are making our magazine strip art, magazine collage, or magazine mosaic, again inspired by John Hunter's Carnival. You can find that on our website in our collection section. Yes, activities for all ages. So we like to thank you, India, for commenting. We like to make sure that what we're doing is something accessible for all people, all ages. We want everyone to enjoy artwork and to enjoy making artwork. You don't have to be an artist in a museum to be an artist. So thank you for joining me today and being an artist with me. So what you're going to do is take your strips, and if you want, you can lay them out on your template to give yourself, it's kind of hard to do that, to show you holding it in the air. So you would definitely want to do that, you know, down on a flat surface. So you're just going to lay your strips down, and you're going to paint a little glue on the back of the strip. And see, you can see how in this case, the paintbrush gives me more control than, say, trying to squeeze out glue that drips everywhere. And then you're just going to lay your strips down. I'm going to do a few here for you. You're going to lay your strips down across your template. I'll try to use these that I was really excited about the patterns on to show you. And you're not, you kind of want them to overlap each other just slightly to to cover those cracks and creases. And I am working with a mat under all of my supplies just to protect my dining room table. So if anybody is wondering how to keep their space neat and clean, or you are like, I don't have a workspace, it's actually just a piece of poster board that I put down on the dining room table, and it is going to do a fine job of protecting the table from all of the glue and the ink and anything else I do. This is actually where I work to create my own artwork, so my mom appreciates that I am protecting the table. So you're going to just overlap, you see here, those strips, so they're overlapping slightly, and you're going to do this so that you cover the entire template. You'll notice the bear starts to look not like I'm losing, it looks like I'm losing the legs, or eventually it'll just look like strips of paper altogether. So you're going to do that until you end up with this one. I'd already started folding, something that looks like this. And I have trimmed some of these pieces off a little bit. So your template's just going to be covered. And then you can go through, once it dries, I would recommend letting all of this dry, but you can go through then and kind of just trim some of those areas, because what we're going to do next is we're going to start to fold around our template. So you can see here, I'm folding, and it's going to the back side. This back side, you're not going to see, so it's completely fine to fold into that back side. So I've started folding here, and then some of it you'll realize when you fold, like right here, I feel like I'm folding that in, but it just feels like I've started wrapping a present and the paper has gotten away from me, and now I have this bunch of paper here. So you can go ahead and trim those pieces off if you feel like you're getting it to that back edge or that back border and you think this is just not going to work. So I'm going to fold, and then like there might be some little areas like this here in the bend of his legs, or in the bend of whatever template you are using. There might be those little corners and bends. This is why simple templates do really tend to work better, so you don't have as much space to navigate. Also, it's easier to recognize for our eyes the more simple template or the more simple silhouette, as opposed to the more complicated silhouette. So we're just going to fold these edges around, and I'm going to cut some of the edges. Hold it down here to cut some. So if you are joining me today, thank you so much. My name is Rachel. For those of you who did not catch that at the beginning, I am the manager of Youth, Family, and Special Programs at the Hunter Art Museum. So that is a big mouthful of a way to say that I like to work with children and students and even adults of all ages and sizes and shapes and walks of life to create art and to get them excited about making art. And sometimes you all get me excited about making art. Like today, I'm excited to be doing this Facebook Live and making some art with all. It's a good day to make art. It's a nice rainy day, but can't really go out and play in the yard. So it's a good day to be inside, maybe make a cup of hot tea, have a little snack, and make some art. And since it's summer inspired, it can be colorful like Carnival. So what I'm going to do now is I've got my glue gun heating up, and then I've taken an old frame and I spray painted it, and I just put a piece of poster board on the back. I just cut it to the size of the back of the frame and glued it to the back. And so now I'm going to take my bear. You can see after he's folded around how he looks like a little magazine mosaic. So I'm going to take my bear and I'm going to take my glue gun, and I'm just going to load up the bear with some glue on the back of his little body. And see the steam coming off of this glue gun. It's been warming up for a while. So I'm gonna carefully, so I don't burn my fingers, glue him down to the middle of my page, or the middle of my frame here. You might have to tuck a little bit more if you're gluing this down. And make sure everything is nice and neat. And you can see you've got a little bear magazine art mosaic, and he would be cute hanging on the wall in my bedroom, I think, or in a guest room. You could also, as I mentioned, if you did letters, this would be a cute little gift to give. Maybe if you know somebody's baby is coming and you already know the name of the baby, you could do a letter with the baby's name in some more pastel colors, or whatever nursery colors, if you know that, would fit. So I hope that you enjoyed this activity today. Again, thank you so much for joining me. My name is Rachel, and if you did miss the live version of this activity, it will be on our website, or on our on our Facebook page to look at, to go back and look at. And I hope that you join us continually on Wednesdays at 2. Someone will be here to make art with you. Thanks, everyone.